I continue dealing with the knowledge of God. How is it that mankind has the knowledge of God, or he understands that there is a divine being to whom he is personally or she is personally responsible? I pointed out on the program yesterday the matter of innate knowledge. God has put within every man the area of conscience. The framers of the Constitution, the founding fathers, made reference to this when they spoke in our founding documents of the matter of natural law. But of course, this is denied by atheism. And the warning given by the Apostle Paul of one's conscience being seared with a hot iron. It is the conscience that works in man, the area of innate knowledge, that prompts one to recognize that what I'm doing is wrong. Men love darkness rather than light. Why? Because their deeds are evil. My question is, who told them their deeds are evil? How do you know your deeds are evil? And then, why is it that you do not want someone to see you do the things that you're trying to hide? How did that knowledge come about? I don't find that knowledge in the animal kingdom. A dog doesn't have that kind of knowledge. Where does that come from? And that is the matter of innate knowledge that is expressed in the matter of conscience. I'll move forward today and deal with the matter of tradition. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which ye have been taught, whether by word or by our epistle. Hold the traditions. Now, when I bring up the matter of traditions or traditionalism, immediately there are some that will mock and make light of that matter, and yet that is precisely what the Apostle Paul says, that we are to hold the traditions. There are two aspects of the matter of tradition. There is the remote tradition, and then there's the present traditions. There's no doubt in my mind that the man Adam and his wife Eve in the Garden of Eden heard the voice of God, that Adam walked with God in the cool of the day is the record of the Bible. And then when Adam and Eve had sinned and sin entered in the human family, there is no question in my mind that Adam and Eve heard the voice of the judgment of God upon their sin. There's also no doubt in my mind that Adam and Eve taught this to their children and to their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren, so that by the time we arrive at the end of the antediluvian age, at the Noahic flood, about 1,000 years from Adam's creation, we find that their thoughts are evil continually. Now, how do they know that their thoughts are evil continually? Well, it would have to reach back to the tradition handed down from the direct voice of God, where Adam and Eve stood there in the Garden of Eden and spoke with God and saw the judgment of God upon the serpent, and saw the judgment of God upon sin, saw the death of the two innocent animals that had to die to make a covering for their sin. Adam and Eve never got beyond that. Now, one problem is the fallen nature of man, and the fallen, depraved nature of man is forever prone to depart from the knowledge of God. Man, in his fallen condition, is forever prone to leave God, to wander away from God. And yet, in spite of all of the pull of the world, the flesh, and the devil, to cause man to walk away from the knowledge of God, yet here we are in February the 7th of the year 2025, and men still understand that there is a God to whom I am personally and directly responsible. But this brings me to the second aspect, and I'd like to spend the balance of my time here today. In the matter of tradition, we have the present. And when I talk about tradition, I'm talking about the influence of tradition that is prevalent in the instruction of our children and our grandchildren. The most vital aspect of the instruction of our children and our grandchildren is in this matter of tradition. If tradition and traditionalism was not so important, then why is there such a battle here in my state of South Carolina? Right now, as I'm recording this, we are getting up to Election Day, and I've been trying to promote conservative members to run for the Greenville County School Board, and people have asked me, how should I vote? And I say, vote for this man, vote for that woman. And the school board is so important because they have a direct influence on the curriculum, and they can have an influence of what's going on in school. Why do you think the teachers and the school system in your state and in my state want to go to 12-month school? It's not that the teachers enjoy having 35 crumb crunchers in their presence, or 35 or 40 high school hormone rattled young adults in their class that they're constantly in conflict with. It is because they want the young people and the children out from under the influence of mother and dad, grandmother and grandfather, uncle and aunt. They want the children under the influence of the school curriculum 12 months out of the year, so that they can change the traditions. They want to change the traditions. It is vital that you and I, in the teaching of our children and grandchildren, which is clearly taught by precept and example in the Scriptures. In the Old Testament economy, the elder Jews were to remind, they set up altars, they set up markers, they set up days of celebration and memorials to constantly call back into question the things that had happened, to set up as traditions. There are 7 feasts that the Jews observed throughout the year, and those 7 feasts became a tradition. They were a traditional remembrance, and that was to be driven home into the mind of the young people. The young people were not allowed to witness it, so the area of the tradition was to be reinforced into their minds. So this matter of tradition can be traced into succeeding generations. Now, someone would say, but now these young people are not able, and children are not able to comprehend these things that are of divine importance. They most certainly are. Remember, yesterday I dealt with the matter of innate knowledge. Dr. Lewis Sperry Schaefer called it in his theology intuition. We refer to it as conscience. God has put within all mankind the knowledge of God. That's why there are no atheists in a foxhole or in a crashing airliner. Atheists, men and women that deny the existence of God, will cry out, "Oh God, save me! Oh God, save me!" Why would they do that if they deny the existence of God? It's because of that innate knowledge God has placed within man. If God had not placed that knowledge within man, then a child could not be taught divine things and instructed in divine things, because they would have no competency or constitution to receive those things. But you recognize that children will come to a saving knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ much more readily than a 60 or 70-year-old man or woman. The reason is because of the purity of their heart. Their heart is not hardened. Their heart is more tender. That's why it is vitally important that you and I have our children in Sunday school, that you and I have our children in daily devotions in the home, that you and I sing to our children Christian and gospel songs, that our children be taught to love and respect the Bible. We need to reach our children while they are young, while their hearts are soft, while their lives are pure, while their minds are uncluttered. Now, having said that, why do you think that Disney is trying to write children's programs that deal with Satanism and transgenderism and homosexuality and Wiccanism and witchcraft and satanic symbols? And why are they trying to teach that to our children while they're young? Because they want to upset and destroy the purity and the innocence of their heart as soon as they can. They know if they can pollute the heart and pollute the mind of our children, then it becomes more difficult for our children to be reached with the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, to be brought to a saving knowledge of God. The world recognizes that, while Christian parents sitting on church pews in our local churches are more ignorant of Satan's devices than the world. Paul the Apostle said, we are not ignorant of his devices, the devices of the adversary, the devil. We need to protect the innocence of our children. I don't know that it's wise to give a small child an iPhone. I don't think it's wise to set a small child down in front of a television and use the television as a babysitter. It's certainly not wise to indoctrinate your child with the modern Disney and the current and modern cartoons and Saturday morning entertainment. It is utterly and ultimately not unbiblical, but anti-biblical. It is an anti-biblical worldview. The influence of the teacher and the parent on the child's understanding of God and the child's relationship to God is much more paramount than any of us could ever realize. Why do you think the curriculum in our current education system now is wanting to begin to sexualize the understanding of the children in elementary school? We have elementary school teachers now that are flying rainbow flags in the 4th and 5th grade in the classroom. That should never be tolerated. The rainbow flag has no place in a 3rd grade or 4th grade class. Why do you think they would want to do that? You know, they took Bible reading and prayer out of the public school system and replaced that with the Karl Marx Communist Manifesto, and Heather has two mommies, and homosexual and transgender literature and curriculum. Why do you think now, it used to be that sex education, quote unquote, was only taught to 11th and 12th graders as a part of the biology curriculum, and now we have this all the way down into elementary school. Why? Why would they do that? Because the left, the world, the adversary, the devil, recognize the influence of the teacher. They recognize the influence of the teacher upon the child. And too many Christian parents and too many Christian grandparents have turned their children over to the state to allow the state to indoctrinate and to influence their children. And instead of taking our children to Sunday school on Sunday morning and going to church Sunday morning and going back to church Sunday night and then going in for midweek prayer service, we're busy hauling our children to soccer practice here and baseball games there and Little League football games here. And the only influence they're getting is the influence of the state indoctrination, quote-unquote, education system. The world understands the power of the influence of the teacher upon the child, and the point of the current education system is to change the traditions. Where a man for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh, and they establish a Christian home, and that man married to that woman produce offspring, and then those children are taught traditionalism, and a young man will leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife, and all of that now is being changed, a desire to change the traditions, to where now 2 women can get married, 2 men can get married. You don't have to get married at all. You can have sex outside of marriage. We have contraception, and the traditions are crumbling and crashing to the ground. So, Paul said in 2 Thessalonians 2:15, therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions. Now, on Monday, I want to pick up and we'll move forward with reason. Reason teaches man that there is a God to whom he is responsible.